Welcome to another episode of the Stric, and this one is super exciting because it contains a big, huge, exciting announcement. I have with me Nora and Anthony. They're going to be diving in and talking about this huge, huge deal. It's very exciting. Hi, guys.
How are you?
Hi.
I'm good. I'm excited. This is a big, big day for Istrico Productions.
What do people think that it is? Do they think the team is pregnant? Do you think that we bought a house? Anthony, what is our big surprise?
So, after 13 years, we have rebranded. It is,
The dogs got excited.
yeah, after 13 years, we have changed our look, our feel. We couldn't be more excited. It's fantastic. We think it's a much better representation of what we are, not just who we are.
I'm really excited. It's like, yeah, we got a makeover.
And that means a bunch of new stuff, new merch, new website. We're really doing it.
We always tell our clients how important it is to have continuity across things. So I think we're going to try to lead by example here and really just drop this whole. I mean, it's more of a refresh, right? Because we haven't changed the name, but it is a complete visual reset.
We did do a lot of thinking about who we are and what we want to represent, who we are as a team, how we want to be seen to clients. And, there was a lot of thinking about soul searching about who we are as a company and a brand. So, Anthony, do you want to talk a little bit about more of the why?
Yeah, absolutely. And to Nora's point, like it was a lot of soul searching. And just to like kind of be retrospective for a second, like when I started the company, like it was the brand, the logo was a necessity. It became out of necessity because I had committed to leaving my old job and I had clients lined up. So I had a friend who was a brilliant designer just put Anthony Longbar Istrico on a business card and pick a shade of blue that I really liked. So the why has always been kind of playing catch up, right? I was all of a sudden on my own and I needed to put something out visually so clients would know who I was. So I hit the ground running, right? And I never developed my brand. To say I was the brand is an understatement. So we long have kind of outgrown the brand. And Nora and I have long been talking about like how we work with clients and what we like to do with clients. And I know it's kind of catchy and cheesy, but like I really do feel like our clients and our team are family. And I don't think our brand represented that. Like I by design, I wanted the brand to be clean, crisp, official. Like you would look at it and be like, oh, this is look at that. It's all caps. It's like when banks used to build imposing buildings to give people the sense of security. I think that was where it went. But instilling confidence in clients when it was just me and I was working 22 hours a day and thank God for coffee, I wasn't going to make it through the day. They did not need to know that. And I think that's part of the importance of a brand, right? Is it is your visual representation to the outside world. We had to start to look more like our reputation than our brand because our clients see our logo, but then they interact with us. And it's such, in my mind, it was such a, I don't want to say a disconnect, but it was a different experience. You'd look at our logo, a blue box, stacked or linear, and you'd be like, oh, okay, they're gonna, it's gonna be hard line. Here we go. But it's just the opposite. We become really vested in our clients and their messaging, and so our reputation needed to become our brand.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
And so Nora was like, I'm going to talk to the team and clients and see what they think. And Nora, what do they think?
Well, yeah. I mean, to echo everything you said, this was a long time coming. And just as someone who's been here from the very early days, I just knew there are certain things that I didn't want to see for us anymore. When you look at a lot of production companies that are out there, there's a lot of blue, there's a lot of gray, black, red. It's very hyper masculine, and we're a diverse team of folks, and I just wanted to get us away from that to set us apart. So that was something that was important to me. I was very open to hearing what everybody thought. So I did interview the team and I asked a bunch of questions. First, I asked the team to describe Istrico Productions. Got a lot of great sound bites from them. Somebody said, we're people. And I loved that. Another person said, we're a collective of artistic people. Somebody said, we tell stories for good. We're script to screen. We're creative. We're storytellers. There's human elements in everything that we tell. And another person said, it's like a family run company, but we're not related. So then I asked people to kind of describe how they felt about our current brand. And, I said, just be honest. No need to like hold back. Someone said it looks like every other production company out there. So we knew that we had to change some things. I asked people, what did they want? Everybody wanted color, more color. They wanted it just to feel more fun. And we're a fun team. I think, speaking of reputation, I think clients love to work with us because they love the team. And that's what we hear from a lot of our clients. So we wanted to come across as fun and still professional, but creative as possible right
Well,
off the
Nora, you
bat.
just said something that really made me realize how long it's been. Like people wanted marks to play with. When I started, my number one design element was a paper business card because that was what we used. Like now, you say that, and it's true. Like we're working on animatable elements. Like when it was me, if a video that I did 13 years ago had animation, I'd have to hire a freelancer. And again, I needed a logo to put on a business card. Like that's so antiquated.
That'd be it.
I think as creatives, we should be constantly evolving. And I don't mean that in the sense of you have to adapt with the times or be super modern, but just in the sense of like knowing who you are at that moment in time and then reimagine how you could be. There should be an aspirational element to it too.
Kind of inferring, but it feels like you're speaking to a sense of new confidence. Like I was trying to be this professional, non-offensive, just intimidating brand because I was pretending to be 10 people. And I was just wondering why now? What happened in the past year that made it seem like this is our moment?
Well, I think it's more than the past year, and you nailed it. Like it's perception, and that's all a brand is. It's perception, right? Your brand is what you think you are and what you think you do, and you want the world to see. And again, I think it was so important to show that it's an enjoyable experience to work with us. We will take a stressful situation that you've got to get out in front of a message or an issue, and we will show you and portray your story in the most complimentary visual or audio way possible, and we'll make it an enjoyable experience. And I think the old logo was like, oh, this is just a corporate organization that does video. And like Nora said, they're blue. We want our clients to look at it and be like, wow, that's kind of cool. That's fun. That's playful.
Yeah, I think it's also important to just have your creativity out there right off the bat. Like you want if there's an element of trust there too. Someone who, even though, a lot of our clients are word of mouth or have worked with us for a long time over the years, we want people to see our creativity as soon as they Google our name or as soon as they email us. And I think just to answer your question also from before, Bree, I think it's easy to live in the past. And especially when it was just Anthony and then it was just a small team of people, like we thrived at that point and it was really great. But like he said, over the past few years, especially, we've grown tremendously. And at the heart of that is the talent that we brought on board. And it's time for a new era. It's time to like bring those creatives to light and let them be playful and let them play with the branding and, kind of show off who we are now at this point in time. But we want to feel as young and creative and energetic as we really are at this moment in time, where there's a new team here and we want to give the new branding that same energy.
So let's talk a little bit about that exciting, youthful, fun branding. Like, what are some elements? I mean, people are going to see it over the next few months as we start rolling it out, but what are the anchors of this new brand?
We're going to see a lot of color. We're not just a blue, black, and white company anymore. We have not just one, but one, two, three, four primary colors. And we've got a whole handful of secondary colors. So you're just going to see a burst of color from us and probably some unexpected colors. You're also going to see us be more playful in, our approach visually with icons, with different fun fonts. I think energetic would be the word that I would use. A lot of surprises in there that we wanted it to be really a launching point because we are creatives. We have incredible motion graphic artists on our team, animators, designers, creatives of all sort. We wanted it to be, the new brand to be a launching place that it could be ever evolving and growing from here. So while we have this new set of guidelines for ourselves and how we're going to kind of start showing ourselves visually to the world, it is just a starting place. It's like we could play with it for years to come.
Every medium needs its own kind of flair. So it's got to be organic and dynamic and living.
Well, speaking of living, I heard a quote recently. They said, if you're living the same year every year, you're not living at all. You're just doing things the way you've always done. And maybe that's worked to a certain degree. And I think our old branding has worked. But if you don't get yourself out of the boxes that you've constructed, then there's no room for evolution. And that's just boring.
At the end of the day, what doesn't change is the stories that we tell are beautiful, and we absolutely have our clients' best interest in mind. We enjoy this work, and you're going to enjoy working with us, because this should be a fun part of your day. It's like the teacher was sick in school and somebody rolled in a TV and VCR and you got like movie day. Like, this should be the most exciting part of a day when we work with our clients, and we get that all the time. Like, oh, we're so pumped, you're going to come in and film. It's like a class trip.
Oh, I love that. I haven't thought about that. Yeah, it's the fun day. Well, I'm super excited. This is looking so incredible. I'm so excited as someone who's posting a lot of social media. I'm very excited to use more than just blue.
Well, yeah, Bria, I want to ask you, what were your impressions of the old brand and the new brand?
Yeah, well, I will say I'm a little relieved to hear you guys talk, because I feel like when you asked me, I was a little mean. I was like, it's broy and boring.
It's okay.
Bria, I've always appreciated your honesty.
I really am okay admitting that I am not branding oriented. I appreciate it because I don't understand it. I was walking through a wine store the other day looking at the labels like, this is so incredible. This gives me feeling of this, this, and this. And oh, look at this one. It's amazing how they did this, this, and this. But I don't know where to start. I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. And so I hadn't really thought about it that much. And so once Nora asked me to think about it, all these other words came out. And so those colors are right up my alley. I dress loudly, I decorate loudly. So I'm so excited. I think it does exactly what you set out to do. We're super fun, but we're professional and know what we're doing. And we can use these colors and fonts and attitudes in like a very nuanced way. So I'm psyched.
Yeah, and I think that I'm glad to hear that, obviously, on many fronts. And what's great, and Nora and I had this kind of come to Jesus moment, is there were no surprises in the feedback we got. Like, we knew where it was dated, but we also were very excited to hear that people felt the way we always like to think we create an environment. Like, it is a team, it is a family. Everyone brings something unique and contributes in some way. So I was super excited when Nora did all those interviews, and like, the research proved us right. So I was super excited when Nora came back after doing all these interviews, and she was like, no, people get what we're doing. We just need to visualize it differently. I love that meme. Like, do you remember being a kid and like you'd rearrange your room and you just felt this new high? It's an awesome and valid point, because I'll say it time and time again, like, nobody phones it in here. Like, we might be remote, but people are passionate, and we want them to not just take pride in their work and their teammates, but now more than ever, with everyone being remote, how do we instill a sense of culture, a sense of like, we are one, giving them some brand that we can all get behind is important now more than ever.
So in terms of the process, who can we thank for all these great ideas? Who worked on this from beginning to end?
Obviously, I realized it was time, and Nora and I have been going back and forth about how important it is to bring the brand forward. So the first person that I reached out to was a good buddy of mine and a great designer that we work with all the time, John McGlasson. And John has a fantastic eye. And we talked about, Nora mentioned earlier, like the importance of shapes and things that can be animated. We wanted a font that was strong still, but playful, but also had a lot of unique character aspects that we can play with in terms of transitions and motion. So John gave us this beautiful font book with selected styles. And then Nora spoke with Luke on our team, who's a brilliant designer as well. And Luke started to think about colors with Nora. And then we tapped a good friend of ours, a brilliant designer who we work with, Chris Root. And we said to Chris, this is what we have. This is where we are. This is what we like about it. This is what we want to change. Chris was able to visualize the story of our brand that Nora had compiled based on the foundations that John and Luke had put together. So it's a team effort, like everything. And I was just so excited that we actually had the time available to do it.
That's great and exciting stuff, because next we're going to have Chris's expertise and how we got to our final product, and just generally why branding works, which is exciting. I'll be listening because I don't know.
Well, there you go. If you can take away one thing from each episode, that's fantastic. Lifelong learning.
Exactly. Well, thank you, Anthony and Nora. Congrats. This is very exciting, and I know how hard you guys worked on it and how great it looks. Next up, we're going to have Emma and Chris and Nora talk about branding a bit further. We know the why and we know we're excited. We're going to be talking about how it was made and the thoughts and strategies behind branding in general. So stay tuned.
Welcome back. I'm Emma, and we wanted to pick up from where we left off by discussing all things graphics and design. Here to chat with us are two people who shaped our rebrand, Istrico's one and only Nora, thank you for being here again, and our good friend Chris Root from the National 4-H Council. Thank you for being here this fine morning.
Thanks, Emma.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
Chris, do you want to formally introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah. My name's Chris Root. I've been doing graphic design and branding for 20 plus years. And recently, or not recently, I've been at National 4-H Council for over 8 years. And it's been a wonderful experience and a great ride.
Yeah, Chris, we love the National 4-H brand. And obviously, we love working with all of you as a client. Can you tell us a little bit about National 4-H Council, what it is for our listeners who might not be familiar?
So National 4-H Council is the nonprofit organization that represents the larger 4-H organization, which includes Extension and the 110 land-grant universities who are in every state, county, parish across America. And what our job at Council is really telling that 4-H brand story on the national level. And that's my main role at Council, is really how does 4-H show up at a national level, and what is that overall story that we're telling as a brand?
I'd love to talk a little bit about kind of your process and some of the bigger questions that maybe a company might need to think about when considering a rebrand. But you all just went through rebranding yourselves. Can you tell us about the 4-H brand? What is it? What does it stand for? What are some of the main elements of the brand that's so fun?
4-H is one of the reasons I was so interested in coming to 4-H is it's a historic brand. I mean, it's been around since 1902. So getting that opportunity to work with a brand that has that much legacy was exciting to me. It brings its own set of challenges too, because when you have such a historic brand, there's things you have to honor about that brand. And yet you also want to kind of push it forward and to make sure it represents the organization where it is today. Where it began in 1902, it was primarily agricultural youth organization. Where we are today is vastly different. I mean, we still have that rural ag roots in our brand, but we do STEM, healthy living, civic engagement, you name it. Trying to change perceptions on a brand that people know such a long time. It takes time. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. And I think people who are already familiar with 4-H know how the organization has changed, and through the stories we tell through our brand.
So just maybe generally speaking, what are some elements of your new brand that are kind of helping to take that perception into this new era?
Yeah, things that we always have that'll never change is the name 4-H, 4-H is something that we'll never lose, and the emblem being the clover. Those are our primary elements. What we want to do with this new brand is make it reflective of the young people who are actually in the program today. So a lot of that was injecting a new color palette, bold fonts, iconography that is representative of all the activities and things you can do in 4-H, and have a brand that gives us some flexibility to take some chances too on how we show up.
Mm-hmm. Well, you did an amazing job. I'd love to know, in general, what are some kind of questions that maybe a company should ask themselves before considering doing something as huge as a rebrand?
It's really, I guess, who do you want to be as an organization or a company? How do your customers see you currently? And do you want to change that or reinforce that image that they already have of you? Brand is such a broad topic to me. It can have positive connotations and even negative ones. Do you want it to reflect the products or service that you're offering? So it's really figuring out what that balance is, like what about you as an organization is most important, and first thing you want your customers to know about you. That to me is it's really figuring out who you are, your personality, and what your comfort is in terms of how much of that you can show is key in terms of what a graphic designer wants to know when they're thinking about going through that rebrand.
Well, you've been doing design for, as you said, 2 decades now. Do you have a personal style? What is the Chris Root approach?
I would say When I first start off, it was trying to be clean and minimal. As I've gotten more experience and just worked on so many types of clients and projects, I think my style is really more about figuring out what the problem is. Where do they want to be? What's the solution they're looking for? Now I don't try to limit myself trying to be clean and perfect or minimal. I like just having all the ingredients at hand to be able to use and find the right mix that makes sense for the problem you're trying to solve.
That's true. It's like a fine balance between, like you said earlier, authenticity and being true to yourself and what does an audience want? What's going to be memorable and is it representing the work that you do, not just who you are, but what you're putting out there in the world? It's like feels like a very fine line.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, after 13 years, we decided to rebrand Istrico Productions, and we're really excited about it. We had been talking about it for quite a while, Anthony and I, internally. When he first started the company, I know he was just looking for something classic, sleek. We both came from agency world, so I think our old logo has just a very clean agency look. The colors he chose, blue, black, boom, simple. And so much of what we do is white label, and that just means when we produce video content, it's usually branded under our client's name. So we're doing work on behalf of the clients marketed as a client's video. So there's not much of just Istrico Production stuff out there. We're always working on behalf of other clients. So I think we just never really prioritized our look and feel and our stuff because we were kind of playing it safe a bit. And we wanted to kind of leave that creativity for our clients. So I'd love to know, and we approached you because we have been working with 4-H for the last decade. We've been working with you for a while. We loved your style. We loved the 4-H rebrand. And we were like, who do we know that could really help us transform ourselves into really transform us back into who we are and put that out there for the world. So I'd love to know first, like when we first came to you, what made you want to say yes and helping us with our rebrand?
It's because you guys are so easy to work with and fun to work with. And knowing I have that kind of relationship with you guys makes that process so much easier. When you have that trust and that transparency, I think that's huge and critical, like to really doing a good job. You can ask the right questions and you're going to get the honest answers back.
That's sweet. You have the unique vantage point of being one of our clients. So you know what, maybe other clients might want to see from us. What were some of your thoughts of our branding just before we even came to you about a rebranding? Did you have thoughts about it? Were you neutral on it? Or did you wish that it had a more creative look and feel? What were your thoughts initially about when you first saw Istrico Productions?
Yeah, I mean, the way you kind of described it initially, that it has that agency feel. I would say actually your brand has kind of struck me more as technical, like the technical side of what you guys do. But I did not get the creative side. But I also knew when working with you that that wasn't representative. That's not true. In fact, it's quite the opposite.
Yeah, agreed. Can you just talk through kind of the initial request?
I thought it was great. Again, like what you guys already came to the table with showed that you guys had already really thought about who you were as a company and what you wanted to be. And it was funny, like I wasn't sure what you guys were looking to do, but I had assumptions. Like I had assumption of like what I'd like to do to the brand based on who you guys are, and how well those matched was really funny to me. I was quite surprised by that. I think the only things that you guys had strict, or not strict, but like, you knew you wanted was a certain font that you'd already selected and some feelings on color palette. But again, that's awesome. Like as a designer, you kind of you appreciate the fence that you get to work within too. Those limitations are actually blessings in disguise often, just for making you be able to think again with the ingredients you have. Or think more creatively with the ingredients you have on hand. Yeah, I think what I heard was just the people of Istrico, the culture is what you guys wanted to make sure was coming out the other side of it. That I think your clients already know the technical expertise that you guys bring, and what you really wanted to make sure it came across was the creative side, and also just the personality of the people that work at Istrico. Another thing about brand is like we always think about brand as how it affects our customers or the audiences we're trying to reach, but you also have to think about the people that work under the brand. Does it represent them? Does it inspire them? I think that's really important too. When I was thinking about your brand, it was like, how do I inject personality? You should always think about the brands that do those things well. That is what I was trying to get to with this rebrand, was bringing personality, fun, creativity to the forefront, not having to worry about communicating that you guys will make sure the audio levels are correct and cameras in focus, that is already assumed by your audience is great. And I think also one of the other constraints was the name. It wasn't going to change, right? So Strico Productions was going to remain. So that productions word, I think that's something that gives a certain impression already in terms of skill, and it's something you have to kind of. It's a positive and a negative too. So and I think like now we have like a nice balance between putting some context to the name and showing the other side of Istrico, which is again like the people, the service, the type of service and experience you'll have working with Istrico.
Our old look and feel kind of helped us get here, and now it's time to have fun. Now people trust us, they know us.
That's a great point. Like, I think, your brand really did what it needed to do when Istrico was starting out. And a lot of your clients were agencies. And so conveying a sense of professionalism, technical skill, I think made a lot of sense for that brand. But like you said, where you guys are as an organization now that's no longer required.
Chris, would you mind kind of walking our listeners through the elements of our new brand, the colors, the feel, the icons, all the new elements? What do we have now?
The vibe.
Yeah, what's the vibe?
I think the vibe is I wanted it to feel punk and add some texture and grit and have lots of color. Add in a little punk into what was used to be corporate agency, and really your logo, Strico Productions, now to me feels like a sticker. It feels like a sticker that you'd slap on a telephone pole. Strico Productions is the name. That's not going away, but I know you guys wanted maybe a way to shorten it, have your brand show up in a smaller mark. And so that was the idea of the IP treatment too. And again, not being too precious with the logo, and being able to create some fun wallpaper treatments with IP and be able to do more with that and have it show up in smaller places too, I think is really useful. That's another thing, I think your brand has to be flexible to accommodate how it shows up in the different places, whether it's online and social and in print and swag too. So the color palette, you guys went from like a really cool color with blues, whites, black, and now you're really warm colors. And then we also added in some secondary colors, with this purple being my favorite, and how it works with the warm red that you guys have. And to me, like, the fun is figuring out the balance between all these colors. So we have a lot of new colors in your brand, and that was one thing I think I mentioned to you guys too in the process, was just like not having to feel like you have to be really precious with the brand. And what I mean by that is like trying to stick to too narrow of rules for a brand. And especially for a company like you guys, you're not like 300 employees. You feel to me when I work with you as like a family in that regard, like you kind of get to know everyone personally. So that was another reason, is just making sure that the brand was flexible and that you guys could use it to express your real personalities. The other element was like the iconography too. So not wanting the icons to look, again, clean, proportional, or anything like that. I wanted it all to look hand done, as if it was drawn. And a lot of them are drawn like that. And, the types of icons you're using too, trying to stay away from cliches that we always see on all those mail order website services, where you can see the icon sitting in the three circles, and it's going to probably cost at least $40 a month, whatever it is you're signing up. So staying away from that look. And I think I mentioned already that the patterns and textures, I was trying to go for like a rock poster feel. Make sure that the brand can feel really fun and bring that punk in a bit. Not that you guys are punks. You guys are fun to work with. And your primary font is it's definitely has a bit more personality. For the most part, it's a nice chunky font. I want to make sure you guys had a secondary font too that, again, kind of matches the iconography feel, which is this hand-done, hand-drawn. I wanted it to feel personal, and that's that script font that you guys have. Looks like written text. And I think that's a nice balance, again, like from having that clean font that shows more of the skill side and having a font that leans more on the personality, authenticity side.
Well, I think you nailed it. We love the new brand. I think you really nailed our personality, and I think goal was achieved. Check. Big check there. We already are having so much fun playing with the different elements. You know, our team of animators is already having fun animating certain elements of the brand for our big reveal. And I just want to say a big thank you to you for all of your hard work and your thinking behind it, because it's pretty on point.
Oh no, it was a pleasure. And honestly, I think like getting there is just the partnership too. Being, having trust is so important. You guys already have the talent in-house to do really fun things with your brand, and just seeing what you guys are already doing with it makes me really happy. A lot of times, you might do a rebrand and you hand it over and you have no idea what they're going to do with that brand down the road, and sometimes you're disappointed by that. What I've already seen is like, no, it brings a smile to my face. So I'm excited to see the reveal.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
Thank you two again for popping on here today and for your awesome work on this rebrand. It is so fresh and exciting, and I'm looking forward to others seeing it and to showing off my merch. Thank you for tuning into the first season of The Stric. Please, if there was an episode that connected with you or might be relevant to your teams or that you just found interesting, share this podcast, and if you get the chance, rate us 5 stars in the Spotify app. It helps others find us. We've had such an amazing time putting this out there, and we're excited to pick it back up for all new interviews, insights, and connections in Season 2, so stay tuned.